Testing 1, 2. Let's try this for the third time. Hello?
Who's there?
Oh, hi Gordon. Yes, everything's okay now. Strangely enough, I've tried it on a different browser.
Yeah.
On Firefox, and it seems
Yeah.
okay. So basically, I'm John Patterson. I'm talking to Gordon Bowden. I travelled up to Derby on Wednesday to see some more forensic documents. I will say, Gordon, when I worked on the ships as a casino manager, I used to have to balance the cash desk, which was a manual cash desk,
Yeah.
and the slot machine percentage sheets.
Yes.
And in terms of forensic paperwork, nothing really is as accurate, I would say, as because everything has to balance. Now, I must admit, when I saw your file and the way it was color coded and the way you'd done everything in sections and chapters, I mean, I'm telling you now, I was very impressed. So basically, what Gordon's going to talk about is our meeting in Derby, and I'll over to you, Gordon.
Yeah, thanks, John.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming up to sharing this, because
Pleasure.
It's really relevant to yourself.
Yeah.
And anybody else that wants the truth on massive fraud, theft, and money laundering, which ultimately affects every single person in the United Kingdom. We're not talking trivial amounts. We're talking hundreds of billions of pounds that disappear from the banks, financial institutions, where there is no answers other than toxic debt, which is the simplest way that politicians get out of it, without anybody looking at the forensic detail of the mechanics of how this money has been lost.
Exactly, and this is money that should have gone on hospitals, schools, infrastructure. I mean, once people, because we've done a couple of these videos, Gordon.
Yes,
I think once people understand how this affects them personally and their children, and who's been robbing them, I think people start to pay more attention and hopefully start sharing this information. Is that you or me?
Pardon?
There's a lot of interference. I've never heard this before. Can you hear that? In the back. Hello?
Hello?
Are you hearing that interference, Gordon?
No, I'm not hearing anything other than your voice.
Okay. It's probably just this end. Sorry, Gordon. Go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I said that
yeah.
Everybody that goes through life have their own priorities to be able to concentrate and focus on managing day-to-day life. You know, being able to afford the rent or the electricity, the heating, food, presents for children at Christmas. Everybody goes through their own fight in life just to exist at the moment. And I've been trying for the last 13 years to help people, albeit in a small way, to get a grasp of how serious organized crime affects everybody in the United Kingdom. But very few people will understand or know that there are billions of pounds being stolen by a syndicate who operate and also fund political parties. And those senior politicians, in their wisdom to grasp a lot of dirty wonga, turn a blind eye to this organized crime syndicate. And they operate on the stock exchanges and multiple other networks conducting billion-pound fraud, and it's being operated daily. And that's why I think one of the people who contacted me a few weeks ago plays a relevant part in uncovering how serious this is, because he was a whistleblower to me through Peter A.
Yep.
Okay, then basically we set up a safety meeting with a journalist who is an ex-Met police officer. I believe he was a close protection police officer, as well as a long-serving, respected Met police officer. And his name was Dave Eden. And we set up a meeting to disclose various accusations made by the brother, who was the whistleblower to me, of a senior businessman operating out of the City of London, Monaco, and Australia. Well, he operates all over the world, and it's involving oil, gas, and mining fake companies, and the money laundering structures used to move hundreds of millions of pounds by way of electronic transfer to corporates set up all over the world, out of the reach of our Financial Services Authority or the tax authorities. And so our meeting, which was about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and there were going to be 4 people present who were going to be part of a structured group. There was to be myself, Gordon Bowden, yourself, John Patterson, John Andrews from Anglesey, and a gentleman called Doc Holliday, who writes for various share magazines. I think he writes for Share Profits and a few others that I'm not quite sure about at the moment. However,
Gordon, can I just say,
yeah.
there's a lot of, is your connection loose? Because at this end I'm getting interference.
No.
Okay, go ahead. We'll just see how it works out. Okay.
Nothing. I'll move the mic closer if that's any better. I've got full volume on as well. So
yeah, it's okay now. Yeah.
Yeah. So the 4 of us were going to meet with Dave Eden to make a disclosure in order to protect the whistleblower who lives in Australia, who has, over the period of 3 weeks, divulged to me by way of documents that he sent me as a CC recipient and direct recipient of sequential emails naming his brother, addresses, companies, and the corporate entities he controls. And because this is such a serious allegation made by his brother, where he clearly states that the brother living in London and operating out of the City of London threatened him with his life and his son's if he was to reveal any of the shenanigans that his brother has been up to for the last 30 years. Now, I don't know whether I should mention the gentleman concerned, or should we keep this as an anonymous?
I think, because we know Gordon, I
Yeah.
think at this stage, yeah, let's just not mention it.
Yeah.
Unless you think it's a good time, I'll leave that to you.
No, I don't. I'd say at this moment in time, I don't think it's a good time to name the whistleblower.
Yeah, yeah.
There must be things happening in the background, because I know for a fact that the brother in London is quite worried, and he's made a sort of proposition, which I believe has been rejected by the gentleman in Australia.
Yeah.
However, he's been pressed because he's been threatened to be evicted from the property that he looked after his late father or their late father. The person in London did not attend the funeral of their father, or any memorial service, which is quite strange to say itself.
Very unusual.
This man is a multi-millionaire. He could hire a private jet and fly 50 or 60 people to to a memorial service for his own father. So
Sure.
there's a humanitarian side to our trying to protect this man, and the information that he's released to me, which clearly gives a structured company set up in Australia. I'm going to name the company. It's Delstar International Pty Limited, and for those that can research, they can then find out who's really involved without naming them. Do you understand?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So there was a company set up and structured in Australia called Delstar International Pty Limited, which also had a subsidiary company structured in London, and that company was Delstar Intern Limited, which was, short, interns short for international. So there are two corporate entities with two different separate corporate numbers that were set up, and I'm assured by the person in Australia that this company in Australia was set up to move assets from parental companies in the United Kingdom and other foreign countries to Australia for personal use, as in paying off people, purchasing property, which in terms of the law as tax avoidance, and which should fall under tax avoidance and money laundering. So that's protecting yourself, John, myself, Doc Holliday, and John Andrews down in Anglesey, and Dave Eden and his girlfriend who was in attendance, and I'm sure took full reference to what we were talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So at the meeting, I disclosed quite a large ring-bind A4 folder, which has got about 600 pages in it, which was sectioned and chaptered into various aspects of a 3-week overview of all the corporate documents and emails that were sent to me, which have been hard copied, downloaded, and then put onto a portable hard drive for safekeeping, held at another location.
Yep.
Just to make sure that there are duplicates of every single email and every single corporate entity
Yep.
document, which covers everybody in regard to safety of duplication. So
I would have thought, Gordon, I mean,
Yeah.
correct me if I'm wrong, if the government had these documents, they would be classed as top secret.
No, I don't think
No?
they would be classed as top secret. I would say that if the tax authorities were confronted with the evidence provided by the whistleblower, a lot of companies would have a cease to trade order placed upon them in view of the interconnections of those directors who control those companies and their dual listing on the Toronto Stock Exchange, Australian Stock Exchange, and the United Kingdom AIM, which is the alternative investment market. And so what we have is finite proof, which is forensic proof,
Yep.
albeit from a whistleblower, which I took great care in recording the conversations for my safety as well as that of the whistleblower.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, within the context of the audio video recording is a statement not only of threats of murder, but also naming individuals involved in incest, and I take that very seriously.
Yeah.
And so there is a finite evidence in a sort of declaration affidavit of various criminal acts being conducted by a said businessman, a very, very powerful businessman, who it is told within the recording that this person living in the United Kingdom was recruited by a member of MI5 to conduct the criminal network operations in the United Kingdom and elsewhere.
Wow. Yeah. It's now when you say MI5, we're talking about. I mean, because it's been infiltrated, hasn't it?
Well, the word was said that there was a German entity that had infiltrated and taken over various sections.
It's the DVD.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
Now,
well, the thing is, Gordon, I can say now, Christopher Story, who exposed this, and he wrote a book on it, and he was warned, do not publish this book.
Yeah.
He went ahead and published it, and they poisoned him.
Oh, look, I said
that's on YouTube still.
You can either sit back in life,
yeah,
and let the people roll over you, or you can make a stand in life and tell the truth to the people that probably don't want to hear it.
Yeah, yeah.
And we all have a duty of care in life, because I would prefer that my children and grandchildren and your relatives would grow up in a better place.
Exactly, and it's down to us, and it's down to everyone else to stop
regardless of sacrifices that you make in life. We all make sacrifices.
Yeah.
However, it would be a criminal offence for me not to give out this information.
Exactly.
Where it might make better the rest of the world in a few years to come, if there were policemen with the cojones to stand up and do what's right for this country.
Well, the thing is, Gordon, if they was to plug this fraud, stop it, everybody wins. The police, the schools, the doctors, nurses, teachers, everybody wins.
They fail to understand what money laundering for the arms trade is all about.
Mm.
Because when you sell weapons to specific countries and groups of people in different countries, the last thing that they want is a follow the money trail back to where it came from. And in order to hide this in a smoke and mirrors maze, what they do is they structure up certain boiler rooms in order to hide billion-pound deals and then disseminate them into hundreds of thousands of little tiny companies. And each company will be a shell company, but it will move 50 or 60,000 pounds or £1,000. It doesn't really matter. But when you look at one room in an office in a main street that has dirty, filthy blinds, all a skiff and rubble inside, that from that building you find that there are over 250,000 companies operating out of that address. So when the police say, where's the evidence? Well, it's there.
There it is.
It's there. All you have to do is quickly go to your computer. If you drag a local policeman to your computer, say, if you're so bright at your job in protecting this country from organized crime, please explain to me how this address in Finchley Road, just one of 26 interconnected Finchley Road addresses, can have a frontage view looking as disheveled as this, have over 250,000 companies operating out of there with 6 employees that operate out of 20 other addresses.
And the police can do nothing.
Well, it's not that they can do nothing. They can run and hide or stick their head in the sand. But when they talk about their pensions being reduced or they having to be retrenched because the local council has no funds to employ certain quantities of police officers and police cars, these are the people that need to know those boiler rooms are not controlled by our politicians. They're controlled by politicians living in different countries. And it doesn't take a rocket scientist to be able to dismantle a very simple boiler room. And that's what those addresses in Finchley Road are. They're very simple, constructed boiler rooms that operate over 250,000 companies each.
It's just beyond belief, isn't it?
Well, it's not beyond belief, it's fact.
Yeah.
Because
Oh, I know
anybody
it's fact,
who-
but I mean, it's hard to. I mean, we're not
Yeah,
talking
yeah,
about a
it's-
couple of
it's hard
hundred.
to
We're
grasp.
talking about over 200,000.
That's right.
It's-
And 200,000, over 200,000 companies then dissolve after
Exactly.
a short period of time with no financial documents. Now, as I said, it doesn't take a brain surgeon or a rocket scientist to understand that that's not normal.
Of course not.
So we have a business secretary, Vince Cable. He is fully aware because I've given him information where I've had a recorded response back from his office, and I've also had responses back from multiple other MPs.
Well, I can tell you now, Gordon. When I contacted my local MP, Norman Baker, he said, I mean, he actually replied, and he said, "Well, send me evidence."
Well, simple.
So I sent him what I did have, which was enough for him, you know, with an attached video like this. I
Yeah.
sent him enough for him to get back to me and prompt me further. But when they realised that everything was factual,
Yeah.
they've never been back to me since.
Look,
Neither
with-
of the police.
with
It's not funny. I mean, it's just.
No, you're quite right.
Yeah.
It's not funny, but it is comical in as much as that these people stand on a pedestal,
Yeah.
and you hear the guffaw as they comment to each other across the void in two sections of the houses of the House of
Oh,
Commons.
I can't watch it anymore.
No,
It
no,
makes
no,
me
it's-
feel
it's-
sick,
it-
Gordon.
It's the Muppet Show.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
The Muppet Show.
Yeah.
And so when you look at these right honourable people, ladies and gentlemen, actually they're taking the urine, extracting the urine out of people like us, who can see with the basic tools of maths and English that these people, if you were to drag them before the courts, are complicit in protecting these organised crime boiler rooms. Why? Because a lot of those MPs and members of the House of Lords are directors of the companies which operate out of those boiler rooms.
Exactly. Yeah. They're all drinking out the same trough.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so when you talk about blackmail within politics, unfortunately, what very few individuals in this country would understand how to dismantle a very simple company, which all it has is a website, but reviewing that website, you would say that they've got a mine which is in the middle of Peru, which will promise prospective investors that from their penny stock that they purchase, that in 2 to 3 years' time, when they go into production, they'll be getting £50 a share. However, the realities are that that is one of over 1,600 odd other Ponzi scams that are also being fed on the alternative investment market, many of them with MPs and members of the House of Lords as non-executive directors, who take 70 to 80,000 pound a year for attending 3 meetings in a plush hotel in London, not going out to Peru or something, getting their nice brogue shoes dirty. No, they'll go to a mail forwarding address where the company has its registered office. Well, that and 600 other mining companies.
And the thing is, I mean, although it's in the police's best interest to arrest these guys, they only take orders from the top.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
The general police officer, the police constable that walks the beat, he's the man that's in the front line
Yep.
to protect the local communities. As soon as you start to talk outside of the region of the police, their particular regional authority, what you look at is that, oh, well, we'll pass information of intelligence to another region if we have information. However, that doesn't work, because I've been trying to send forensic evidence of multiple boiler rooms where there are over 2 million shell companies. Over 2 million.
2 million.
Yeah, and mostly with German and Russian directors.
Ah, yeah.
And that's the point that I've been trying to make, is that when you try to protect the assets of this country, the money doesn't stay here. After they've stolen it, it gets moved to subsidiary companies in Bermuda, Panama, Cyprus, Channel Islands, outside of the jurisdiction of our Financial Services Authority. So when they bounced it about 3 or 4 times, much the same as when Mr. Adnan Khashoggi made his hundreds of millions, they learn how to construct boiler rooms, and they use boiler room specialists. And our local police force, I'm not saying that I've been led to believe that the criminals call them wooden tops. No disrespect to a member of the law who tries his
No, of course not. But what it does, Gordon, it explains the fact not only are they taking the piss out of us, excuse my French,
yes,
but they're doing it to the police.
Yeah, because
you know, I mean, I know the police have to sort of, they can't say too much. They've got to protect their jobs, blah 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 blah. But I mean, you know, this can't go on, Gordon. This can't go on with the police.
Well, you know, the unfortunate thing is that every single police officer that you can meet in the street, they're so courteous.
Yes. I talk to them all the time.
They're so understanding of local crime.
Yeah.
You know, the people that use disabled tickets in the front of their windscreens, they're good at doing that, or shouting at somebody that's their dog's just urinated or pooed on the street. They're good at that. You know, local robbery and housebreaking, brilliant at that. Growing of herbal cannabis and drug trading on the street to the value of 20 quid. Oh, they're brilliant at doing that. But domestic violence, you know, urinating in the street, they're brilliant. Can't fault them. However, talk about the smart asses that are stealing hundreds of millions, don't want to know.
No.
They cannot believe that this is being allowed
I know.
to operate within their patch, so to speak. However, if they were to look at 7887 790 Finchley Road, and as I gave you a breakdown of at least 15 mining companies and oil and gas companies, all had their origins out of there, part of the 250,000 shell companies.
And the thing is that folder you had, Gordon, that 600-page folder, was just the tip of the iceberg.
No, that's just, I said I've got a full,
exactly,
massive library.
You know, it's just beyond belief. I mean, we're trying to keep this to 30 minutes, but you know, in all honesty, we could talk for dozens of hours, and there's still stuff to come out. You know. Yeah,
when your local politician has the gall to stand up to get votes at the next election, you know, the same as the ones in Derby here. I'm not scared of anybody. I will stand up and take one file, just a small file.
Yeah.
Well, they've closed a lot of old age homes and their social clubs belonging, or that were there to give entertainment for the elderly and the pensioners. All those treats have been taken away from those people who worked all their lives. They fought in 2 world wars, and now they're being treated like degenerates and social outcasts. That they've been there to. They're more of a hindrance than respectable people who fought for everything that this country should represent. Unfortunately, there are those in politics who are there just to line their own pockets, and they'll sell their own mothers to get it.
Well, I'm excuse me, because I get angry at this stage. I am not going to let them get away with it, Gordon. And when I met yourself, no, the first time was in London.
Yes.
That was the 14th of October.
Correct.
I think we both agreed that we were both on the same track.
Oh, yes.
And we're just not going to give up. Never.
No, I said that sometimes I look back at the last 13 years of my life, and it's been painful for me financially to have done this. But I don't care whether the people grasp it now or if they don't even grasp it. I'll have tried my very best,
Exactly.
and that's all I can do.
Yeah.